One word that comes to mind today as I sit here pondering about the world scope of things, is totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is something that I've been meaning to touch base on, and I will release a longer video, perhaps a few days later, in regards to the communist ideologies of the world at large. Just as if you are prepared to sit in the shadows of negativity on a bright sunny day, the air of totalitarianism is an energy that you can't fathom, you can't perceive, you can't feel, you can't touch, but it is there. It is there through and through. It is a part of the everyday fabric of our societal system. Our societal structure was built on a communist ideology, regardless of whether or not we sit in freedom, we represent freedom, we are a part of a country so wholesome in the freedom of speech that we do not have. We've never had that since the beginning of time. And for the few brave souls who do speak up in regards to their viewpoints, in regards to pushing back on the system itself, the air and the overall energy that you carry is energy of leadership, is energy of being a trailblazer for the rest of your community, for the rest of societal structures within this communist regime that we call home, that we call Mother Gaia. And regardless of whether or not you rectify with what I'm saying, whether or not you believe me, whether or not you sit in that shadow that I speak of, the shadow is in existence. It's there. It's always been there through and through every single square meter of our existence within Gaia's core and on Gaia's surface. Believe it or not. As the Luciferian regimes, the energy that's been anchored down here into the core of Gaia within the second dimensional frequency has been there for eons and eons of evolutionary feats. Dismantling this core, dismantling this energetic frequency has began. And it's begun to spew hatred into the air, to spew negativity into our reality fields. And as you begin to awaken, as everyday normal people begin to awaken to their reality field, they will notice this hatred, they will notice this darkness, they will notice this totalitarianism rise. As the darkness rises to vying for control of our entire reality field, no matter whether or not you are in Russia, Dominican Republic, Canada, Persia, Atlantis. I could go on and on about all of the geographic co-locations on this planet. No matter where you are, the darkness has had control over the mental scope of your reality field, over the energetic frequency of the underlying energy spectrum and the layers and layers of pockets of frequency within your field. And as the angelic light pummels through into our atmosphere in preparation for this incoming ascension, this field, this anchorage of the darkness that's been here since the beginning of time will begin to spew into hatred, spew into all that they are within any moment in time of confliction, of mass deception, of mass manipulation, of the massiveness in the entirety of the scale of deception that you and I sit in, that the whole world sits in. Within every single layer and pocket of distortion field that you can think of, that you can never realize to be true even. As our reality field is the greatest deception field within the quantum verse at large. And you will find here the darkest of the darkest energies, the brightest of the brightest light. And this spiritual warfare between dark and light is finally coming to an end within our reality field that we chose to drop down into through this ascension process that is happening, that is incoming, that has been foretold to happen within the biblical word, within the etheric structures of things, of a reality field, of dark versus light, of a reality field with a hodgepodge of this darkness and brightness that has been here since the beginning of time, of no tomorrows, within a quantum verse of foreverness. All of that is going to come to a clash for all of humanity to witness in this lifetime. And you will see, as you begin to awaken to your reality field, the layers and layers of control mechanism being inflicted against the idea of you becoming awakened, the idea of your children stepping into a new field of light, of hope, being diminished by the darkness. This is not to say that consciousness itself has ever been tranquilized by the darkness, but the schemes that are being utilized by the darkness that resides here on Mother Gaia on a core level has always been directed at your children, has always been directed at you when you were younger, has always been directed at an entire population at a core level from generation to generation to generation, not allowing you to think for yourself, not allowing you to perceive for yourself, structuring your reality field around the deceptions and the deceit of the distortion field of this communism societal structure of this world. And regardless of whether or not these invisible borders, these physical borders have been inflicted upon our reality field to divide groups of people, to divide our countrymen, to divide our statesmen, to divide people on the other side of the world, vying for a separation tactic and separation strategy, the real imprisonment of this energetic frequency lives within our minds, lives within our hearts, and lives within our souls. And for generations and generations, our humanity has been in prison. This whole planet is a concentration camp ran by Lucifer itself. And as we approach the dawn of a civilization, the dawn of a humanity, the dawning of the end of the beginning of an epic distortion field collapsed within the three-dimensional frequency, as our consciousness is set to ascend into a higher, lighter, brighter, airier, more connected frequency within consciousness itself, the darkness that has resided within the three-dimensional frequency that we live in, within the consciousness of our perception, will be seen, will be heard, will show itself to you, within you, without you, within our societal structure. You will be confused. Society will be confused. God will be confused as the consciousness that you sit in. All that you see, all that you feel, all that you hear is a part of God's consciousness. And the part within God's consciousness that was relinquished into this reality field to learn these lessons, to bring home these great and grand lessons of epic proportions, will be confused to a great extent, to a point where forgiveness will rise for all to see, where the ultimate lesson of sitting in the light, of being in the light, of viewing reality field from a neutral perspective of the entirety of God's consciousness will come front and center as parts and portions of its consciousness who had agreed to fractal out into this reality field comes into a realization of the lessons that they came here to learn. And as this confusion washes over a whole entire societal structure of why this structuralism and this communism and these epic proportions of the darkness versus the light even exist as a story that we encompass to begin with, you will be curious, you will be in turmoil, you will question your existence, you will question the meaning of life, you will question within your soul of all souls who this God consciousness is, what this deception has done to our humanity, to our society, to our children. You'll want to protect your children from the darkness within and without. And as we band together and do so, we will go through the greatest awakening of a societal field that we can ever envision to be true, to overcome the communism structure of this world.